But I understand that your claim is that Earth is flat, but do you agree that the dome is like a circular, something like that?
Dome. Nobody's claiming a dome. The
No,
only
I
thing that
mean the way the sky looks.
The way the sky looks is based on visual optics. So there's a limit to how far you can see. So it's what you would call non-linear. So when you look into the sky, the sky wraps around your vision, the limit of your vision. So it's an
Yes.
optical phenomenon. The sky is an optical phenomenon. So regardless of how the sky looks or appears to you, there are still claims being made by whoever is backing the model that cannot be verified, right? We can't determine the shape of the ground by looking at the sky. Do you understand?
Can you repeat?
So the way we see is non-linear, right? So in the same way that things converge, like train tracks converge into a point in the distance, yeah, well, there's the same horizontally as well. So things will converge up and down into a point. So the sky wraps around you, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I understand.
So the sky is no way to determine the geometry of the Earth.
No, I'm not saying the geometry of the Earth. I mean separately. You understand?
Well, I don't understand why you're asking about the sky when we're talking about the claims of the geometry of the Earth.
Yes. It's a concern.
It would be
So-
like me. It would be like me asking you to measure the floor, and you start measuring the ceiling, right?
Yes, I just asked. No, it's not like argument against the flat Earth. It's just a question.
No, I'm not saying it's an argument. I'm saying it's irrelevant.
Yes,
I'm
I
saying
understand.
the way the sky wraps around you is a visual,
Yes.
optical effect,
Yes. I understand.
right? Yeah. But what we're saying is the claims of the globe isn't about visual or optics, it's geometry. They're claiming there's curvature on the Earth. So if Earth is a ball and it's curving, then that curvature rate needs to be verifiable. Would you agree?
Can you repeat the question? Because I was like not focused.
If the Earth is curving, then there must be curvature. Do you agree?
Curving, you mean like? No, I don't think I agree. When you say curving, you mean like a ball? If
Yeah.
the Earth looks like a ball, it must be a ball.
Does
Is
the
this being
surface
clear?
is the surface of a ball, is it flat or is it curving? The surface of a
Curving,
ball.
right?
Right. So
Curving, right?
if we lived on a ball, the surface would have to be curving. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. So if the surface is curving, it should be verifiable. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. So if it's not verifiable at any scale, then it can't be curving, can it?
Well, if evidence does not exist, doesn't mean necessarily that it is not true. But if in the fullness there's no like even in morality or like I mean in the universe evidence, that means it's not curved. You understand what I try to say? Okay.
What I'm saying is, look, forget about the universe, forget about the claim of the model. We're just talking about the geometry of the Earth. If we lived on a ball, let's say a football, regardless of scale, there'd be a curvature rate, right?
Yes.
So you've already agreed to that. So now we don't have an infinite scale. We can't just hide behind, oh, regardless of scale. Now we know that there is an actual size of the Earth. So the claim is that the Earth is a certain size, and if it's not that size, then the whole model falls apart. You can't have a working solar system the way it does with the orbits and everything, distances, without the Earth being this certain size. So we can put the claim to the test. There's a curvature rate. The Earth is supposed to be curving at 8 inches per mile squared. So we can't hide behind the fact that Earth is too big as an argument. There will be some test or some way to measure that 8 inches per mile squared if the Earth is really a ball.
I agree.
Right. 8 inches per mile squared translates to 66 feet of curvature over 10 miles. That's a lot of curve over 10 miles.
10 miles?
So if over 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature if the rate of curvature is 8 inches per mile squared.
Yes.
66 feet of drop from sea level, if you've got, you're optically looking from sea level, 66 feet from that point, decreasing in elevation over distance. 66 feet. So every observation taken that's beyond 10 miles, where you can see an object in its entirety, is proof that there is no curvature rate of 8 inches per mile squared.
Can you tell me what you said it's proof one more time?
So if there's a curvature rate of 8 inches per mile squared, that means there's 66 feet of drop over 10 miles. So if we show you observations beyond 10 miles that debunks the 8 inch per mile squared, then that we have a problem.
That means it's bigger?
It means that there is no curvature rate of 8 inch per mile squared. And if there's no curvature rate of 8 inch per mile squared, then the globe model is wrong. The globe model won't work.
But can it be like 9 inches and the mistake was of a human and still a curvature?
Well, the whole model is based on the size of the Earth. You need a radius, 3959. You need that radius, which is what was used to calculate, for example, the transit of Venus. The distance to Venus, the distance to the Sun, the distance to the Moon. All of the distances and the orbits are all based on the size of the Earth. So if we have an Earth that's bigger than 8 inch per mile squared, then all the math is wrong. So you have no model. You have no model. You have no way to justify the Earth is 65 million miles away. You have no way to justify any of the distances, any of the sizes of the other planets. Not only that, you don't have any proof that we actually live on a ball. You actually have proof that what we're all witnessing is a flat Earth. And that's what we're witnessing in reality. We don't have an 8 inch per mile squared curvature rate. We don't have any way to detect 66 feet of drop. We can see objects far beyond 10 miles. We can see objects, we have line of sight guns that can shoot up to 100 miles. Line of sight.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that the moon is flat?
Do I believe the moon is flat? I don't try to. I'm not trying to believe anything, my friend. The moon.
No.
Better dispel the disk in space misconception.
Yeah, go ahead, T-Dub, if you want to comment on that.
What?
Just be aware that just be aware that we don't think the Earth is a disk in space, like an object amongst other objects in outer space. That's not what we're saying.
Can I ask you now a question? But you ask us, do we see moon do we believe that moon is flat? Is that your question? Hello?
If my question is that the moon is flat?
Okay, let's say you and me sitting outside and watching the moon. I will tell you what I see, then you will tell me what you see, okay? I see this yellow circular thing when it's full. Look like yellow, sometimes it's red, and it's circular like a disc. What do you see?
What I see is when the sun hits, I see
No, the
like
moon.
a ball. What?
The moon.
The moon?
Yeah, when moon is full, what do you see?
A yellow or a gray ball? Yes.
How do you know it's
Yellow
a ball?
like yellow circle. You're saying not the ball.
You believe it's a ball because you were told it's a ball, but you have no way to verify it's a ball. You also have no way
No,
to verify that sunlight is
It's
hitting the
what I
moon.
see.
do you
No,
see
you
the
see
ball or the
you see a
circle?
disc. You see a disc in the sky. Be honest. Without any assumptions, you see a disc in the sky.
Let
You
me
don't
go
see this
look
disc.
at the wait.
You don't see
I'm
this moon
gonna look at
rotating, do you? You just see the
Just
face of the moon.
quickly, he might be confused that we're claiming the moon is actually a disk, like a flat disk.
No, not that.
Yeah, but that's why if we say we see a disk in the sky, he might think that we're claiming a flat disk in the sky. Just saying,
Yeah,
we're not claiming that.
but I wanted to tell him that we see the same thing, but we are not claiming anything that it's flat. What we see with our eyes, that's it. We don't see the sphere. We see the circular yellow thing. You can call it disc, but it's not disc because you don't know. But it's yellow or red when it's full circle. And you see the same thing.
We don't make any claims to what the moon is. We don't make any claims to what the sun is. Any claims we're making is about empirical evidence you can prove on the Earth.
This is what I'll say. I'll say the moon, right? Whatever the moon is, it doesn't seem to have any resemblance to the Earth, meaning that there's no characteristics of the moon that match the Earth that we're standing on. Right? I would consider it more like you're standing on a flat floor and you're seeing a light in the sky, right? That would be a better description of what's going on. We see a light in the sky, it looks circular, we don't know exactly, we can't prove exactly what shape it is. Kind of looks like half a ball to me. Can't tell exactly what it is, right? Don't know how big it is, don't know how far away it is, don't know what medium it resides in, but it doesn't have any characteristics that the Earth has. It's completely different. It's like comparing a chicken to an apple, right? It's just something different. It's the moon and this is the Earth. And if we test the surface of the Earth, over and over again, over huge distances, and there's no curvature, it can't be a ball. It can't be circular, like the moon, like what we're seeing in the sky.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand what you mean.
Yeah. And you understand we're not claiming that Earth is a flat planet, right?
Yes, because the measures doesn't point to flat Earth, right? Right.
Well, we're not. You know what people do, right? Because they've been thinking their whole life that everything is in outer space, right? And the globe is in outer space, and then there's other round planets, and you're standing on a planet. And then when they hear about flat Earth, they try to insert the flat Earth into that concept of outer space. So they usually they think it's like a flat disk instead of a round planet. but that's not what flat earthers claim.
Yeah, outer space is exclusive to the ball Earth theory. If you don't have a ball Earth, none of out of space works. None of the measurements, none of the distances, none of the claims. So you got to throw it all out. No assumptions.
Why they don't agree that the Earth is flat? The government.
The
Can you
government's a
tell me?
huge. The government's a whole bunch of different people, right? They have jobs to do. They probably never even thought about that. Most of the people that work at the government probably just went to school like everyone else, and then they got a job at the government, and they believe the Earth's a globe,
No,
and
no,
they
sorry,
never
sorry.
tested it.
What?
What
NASA?
do you mean?
NASA?
What's that? NASA? Did you say NASA?
Yes.
Yeah, same thing. Most people that work at NASA probably believe the Earth is a globe. NASA's not going to space, right? People have different jobs. NASA's just a different division of the government. Okay, so people have specific jobs to do. Whatever the hell NASA does, right? They're not going to the moon, they're not going to space. So whatever the hell people do at NASA, they're just doing their job, and they believe the Earth's a globe. They're not. It's not like you get a job at NASA and they're like, "All right, well, the Earth's flat, and we're lying to everyone." Okay, so now you're part of the deception, and we're going to deceive people. No, that's not the way it works.
Works like that. You are working in front of computer, watching some data, and you believing that things what you're seeing on the computer, it's happening in reality in the space or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you could fake the moon missions and still believe the Earth's a globe at the same time.
But why they would say the moon mission?
Why would they fake the moon missions?
Yes.
Oh, well, they were trying to beat Russia. Like, that's the obviously they were trying to make it seem like they're the greatest country in the world that can do what no other country can do, and they're acting like they're competing with Russia in the space race. And yeah, and then obviously they faked the moon missions because it's absolutely ridiculous if you actually have a look into it. But that doesn't mean you have to believe the Earth's flat. Just, a ton of people know the moon landing was faked and still think the Earth's a globe.
Did Russia say that the Earth is flat?
No, but the head of the Russian space agency said NASA faked the moon landings.
Jesus, at this point, it's kind of irrelevant. I feel like you're skipping a step here. In order to understand the reasoning behind why they believe it's a ball, I feel like that's a step away from what evidence do we have. Like, first of all,
Yes.
we need to decide whether we have evidence. If there is evidence of the ball, direct evidence of the ball, then flat Earth is done. Flat Earth goes away, right? But there is no evidence. So if you want to ask why they lied or why people believe in the ball, well, that's a speculative question, right? That's something that you can come to the conclusion of and start to understand. But first, you need to establish whether the Earth is a ball or not.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter if DJ says it's because of this, or if I say it's because of that, or if Sasha tells you it's because of this. It could be because of all of those reasons put together. It could be because of specifically one of those reasons. Whatever the reason, doesn't matter. Is there evidence that we live on a ball? And if you look into it, there's no evidence. Go ahead, Sasha.
There is good analogy for this. Let's say like this: we have a video that your girl is cheating on you. We have 20 videos, not one, even 1,000 videos that your girl is cheating on you. But you are asking why would she cheat on me. She is from so good family. Nobody in 100 years, nobody she there is giving all good families. She never lied. She something like that.
But
You
I don't
understand?
do it. I don't do it to complain. I just ask a question.
No, I'm saying
No, we know.
Yes,
what
I
are you
know.
asking? You are asking why your girl is cheating on you, and we are showing you the video. Look, there is a video. She's having sex with another man, and you're seeing that, and you're seeing her, and you are saying, yeah, but why would she do that? And then you need to ask her. I think so.
I agree. That's a good analogy. It's like asking for content without context. Before you can understand the content, you need to understand the context first. And the context is the Earth is flat. The context would be, the question would be, is there any evidence that we live on a spinning ball? If the context is set that there is no evidence for that, then the content you can start to decipher and understand. But you're not going to understand the content without first understanding the context. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, you tell me to understand the context, right?
Before you ask for more content,
Yes.
because you can misinterpret the content.
Yes.
First
Because
of all,
nobody
you need
knows.
to know evidence. Yeah, is there any evidence? Yeah, go ahead, Sash.
Nobody knows the answer of your question, because I would like to ask also the same question, but I know the answer. Nobody knows the answer.
Okay.
That's why I'm not.
You
That's
can
why
hear
I'm not
lots of
asking people,
opinions.
because I know
Yeah.
that nobody will give me the answer.
And there's lots of opinions. There's lots of content for you, but it won't make sense without the context that the Earth is measured, treated, and observed as flat. Once you understand that, then the content can be put into perspective. Then you can make your own decisions.
But
And
you
there's
can think also.
lots of logical reasons for why they would do this.
Think logically. You said also, why would government? Which government was doing good for some people, and you say, okay, this government. We have historical evidence that everybody is complaining about government. I cannot hear. And now, which government is this one? Which you said NASA? NASA is American government. It's not Croatian government. It's not Peru. It's coming from where this space agency is coming from Russia and USA. It's not coming from Azerbaijan. It's not coming from Nigeria.
But what Russia said about the Earth?
That's very interesting. They have they're saying the same thing. I think they're teaching kids there it's a globe, but they didn't go to the moon. They never tried to go to the moon, and they had better in a time better, how to say, technology than Americans. But that was strange also.
Yes.
Yes. That's what we know, like a history, but who knows, is that the truth,
Jesus, we've been sold a story. We've been sold a story. And this model that they've got is not proof of that story. The model that they've got is a backwards engineered piece of math that basically doesn't prove the Earth is curving or spinning. And that's the key point here. There are claims that the Earth is curving and spinning. If there's no evidence that the Earth is curving or spinning, then the model is incorrect. Otherwise, you're just believing a story, a bit like a religion. And human beings, we're suckers for stories. And that's why I think this lie has caught hold so deeply, because it has a good story. It has a model. But that model doesn't reflect reality. It's just a story. You throw in a few wives' tales. You sprinkle on a little bit of math. You hijack perspective. You misinterpret what we're seeing in the sky. And now people think they live on a ball. And you're asking, why does everybody believe it? Because they believe the story. It's got a good story. We're suckers for a good story. But if you apply logic and critical thinking, story doesn't check out. Flat Earth is like a cold, hard lesson in logic and critical thinking. Something most people aren't ready for. The question is, Jesus, if you was to discover the truth, would you want to know it? Some people don't want to handle the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth.
I want to know the truth. Yes. Hello?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you really want to know the truth, eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to say, right, I want to find evidence. If I'm going to believe this ball, I want the evidence, direct empirical evidence that we're spinning, that the earth is curving, that you can have a vacuum in the sky called outer space, that the sun is 95 million miles away. Where is the direct evidence? And if all you can come up with is pre-assumed inferences, you don't have any direct evidence. And that's where you will get to. We all went through the same journey. We all tried to prove this globe at some point. There's not one flat earther who didn't start out without saying, I need to prove this to myself. I need to know this as certainty. In some way, I need some evidence. That's how the journey begins.
Yes.
So go out, get yourself a camera, take some long distance observations. If you can afford it, get a laser. Set up some sort of test, or just do some deep research. Do we have any evidence of the motion of the Earth? Do we have any evidence that the Earth is curving at a rate of 8 inches per mile squared? If so,
SIP laser or what type of laser are you talking about?
a laser, a strong laser. Because a laser will shoot in a horizontal line level to the source, right? So if there's any deviation from level, a very good laser pen would be one way to determine whether you're able to hit a target line of sight further than the 8 inch per mile squared rate of drop, which there should be. If you shoot a laser pen in a horizontal orientation over a lake that's longer than, 6 to 10 miles or about that, there should be deviation from level, because the Earth is curving at a rate apparently of 8 inch per mile squared. So like I said before, over 10 miles, you've got 66 feet of drop. That's a deviation from level. 66 feet of decreasing elevation over distance, over just 10 miles. And you can verify there's no curvature that way. You can back that up with other observations. You can learn about refraction. You can look for the consequences of atmospheric conditions, and you can determine what's being claimed doesn't match reality. There's no deviation from level. And water is your key to understanding this, because water doesn't curve. Water is the perfect place to take your observations and tests.
Hello guys, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the channel. We're talking about flat Earth. Have you ever looked into it?
So we have flat Earth.
Flat Earth, yeah. Have you ever heard of this
Nice.
topic before?
No.
Okay. Well, the Earth is observed, measured, and treated as a flat, stationary, topographical plane. That's how we treat the Earth.
Um,
They claim it's a ball.
sorry, but I don't know what you mean. Can you use more simple words?
The Earth isn't curving. If we live on a ball, the Earth must curve. There's no curving of the Earth. There's no spinning of the Earth. People believe there is.
Oh,
People believe we live on a spinning ball, but there's no evidence for that.
okay. So
No evidence. Do you find that hard to believe?
I think so.
Right. As you should. You were taught that the Earth is a spinning ball and that everybody knows this to be true. But if you try and find the curving, or you try and find the spinning motion on the Earth, it's impossible. There's no curving, no curvature, and there's no spinning, there's no motion to be found anywhere on the Earth. The Earth is treated as if it's flat. In every industry. Is it so hard to believe?
Isn't that funny, Roots, like that question? It really shouldn't be that hard to believe since that's exactly how we experience it. But the indoctrination makes it hard to believe. It actually only exists in the mind. So just like the last guy, you were telling him, you need to go out and test this for yourself. Is the earth actually the way that you experience it, horizontal and such, and not moving? It's a weird time to be alive.
Yeah. It's like people don't want the truth to get in the way of a good story, right?
Exactly.
What we're dealing with is a cult, a religion. A cult. A cult is a group that has special knowledge that can only be verified by them, and everybody else has to believe it. They would have you believe flat Earth is a cult, when in reality, flat Earth is all what you live on. It's all around you. It's reality. When in actual fact, the globe religion is a cult. It's culture. It's a story that cannot be verified by anybody apart from NASA, apparently, apart from an authority that we have no access to. It's part of the definition of a cult or a religion, if you don't know what a cult is.
Laying it down, Roots. Good man.
Yes, sir. Just trying to get some engagement.
Yeah, they can take some cajoling. Their minds are so blown, they don't know what to think. It's like they get an ice bath when they come in here.
I mean, I get how stressful it is, right? I understand that, but I mean, you know, in the pursuit of truth, there should be more questions, right?
Yeah, I found that weird at first as well. Like, why isn't everyone as curious as I was? I was like, I need to know now. But loads of folk are like, nah, who cares? Why does it matter? Or just dumbstruck silence.
It's easier to be told what the answer is, right, than it is to find it for yourself. So in some ways, it's just a nice way of passing off responsibility. Oh, well, I don't want to find out for myself. I'll just let someone else tell me what my paradigm is.
Yeah, that's why when I'm just talking to them, I'll oftentimes just tell them what it is, along with asking them the questions to make them think about it. Just tell them straight up, no, this is what it is. Like, oftentimes I think if you dive straight into like a long distance observation, it just goes way over their head. They can't even contextualize it. I think sometimes
Yeah.
you've got to deal with the disk in space question. You've got to give them something to stand on, to then think about. Because like, we rip the ball away from them and they don't know where they are now. You rip space away from them, they doubly don't know where they are. So when you then go and try and explain the world to them, they're so caught up in that floating in nothingness that they can't really take on what you're saying. So I find it's often useful just to actually describe, well, what we seem to have evidence for is a motionless topographical plane that's contained. So it's more like you're in a giant building. You almost give them some context for what they are seeing, a different context, a different way of thinking about their observations. Because oftentimes I feel like we'll dive straight into some hardcore evidence, like long distance observations, and they're just like, they can even acknowledge, yeah, there's no curve there, that's flat water, but they can't apply that to the overall point that we're making. They're like, yeah, it's still a globe. Like, they don't have that foundation to understand where we're even coming from.
Right, because it's almost like because you said a different way to think about it. Well, it's almost like you don't have to think about it, right? Just look at it, see what do you see? See it flat. What's to think about?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes I'll have a conversation with someone and I'll get them interested in the subject to look into it, and I've not even presented them any evidence. I've not even spoken about long distance observations or the nature of water. I've just asked them about what they think they know about the Earth, and then to consider what they actually experience. And just to propose, well, it could be like this. And they'll be like, some of them will be like, all right, okay, interesting, good points. I'll look into it. And I've not even really presented any evidence for flat Earth, which I think is quite interesting. It speaks to the way the human mind works. And it can sound a bit like, we're not trying to sell a narrative here, but in a way, we are narrative-driven creatures. And it can help, actually, a lot of people understand this whole topic if we do give them some of that narrative, some of the history, an attempt at describing what this system might be, so they have a place to sit and think about it. I don't know, it's just something I've been thinking about the last little while.
I was talking to my son the other day because he was listening to me talk on here. He couldn't hear the other people, but he could hear me. And I had to mute up because he started asking me questions. And he said, well, who was it? Where do we get this idea that we're on a ball from? Like, who was it? Who was it in history, right? And I went, oh, well, the Greeks suggested it, but that didn't take off, right? It was like around the 16th century, right? Like, and then I'm like, hang on a second. Who is attributed with that, like, having said it, we live on a ball? Like, in relatively recent times, like, not thousands of years ago, but like hundreds of years ago. Who was it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even just trying to untangle the history aspect of this subject could be a lifelong task. I mean, we've got a lot of untangling to do. I think that's another way I think about it when we're talking to new people. Their ideas and their thoughts, the globe model, it's a huge tangle of ideas, and you've almost got to untangle all these preconceptions and these notions before you can even start to have the conversation about where do we actually live. Because you're just trained to think so illogically based on your preconceptions about what's in the sky and what the luminaries are, gravity, all this stuff. It's like cemented in the indoctrination. I mean, even the language anchors the story. So when they're talking about the atmosphere and gravity, they just inherently summon a globe. You've got to almost like untangle all that word magic. Because, that's the basis of how human beings are communicating and thinking, is saying the words which are conjuring an image in the mind. And when we use the words to conjure a specific image of a globe, that really cements itself in the person's psyche.
Right. Because, like, at first people come in and, like, some people, right, they come in and they're just laughing instantly. Ha, you idiots, we have pictures from space. When we demonstrate how that's a weak argument, right, then they start thinking and they go, and then they're like, well, if they don't just spiral out then and there and leave, like, they're like thinking, hang on a second, well, okay, well, how does night and day work then, right? Then they start sort of thinking, right? But,
yeah, that's it.
Why would they lie about pictures in space, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just one point we make, one pushback on a point like that can open up 100 questions, especially if you've never even stopped to really consider this whole topic. You're totally green in it. Yeah, I mean, you can spend hours on just one point like that if they really want to get into it.
T-Dub, I would say it was in modern times. I would say it'd be Copernicus, right? Because didn't he write?
Was it? Was it?
Well, that's the mainstream narrative, right?
I don't think so. He just proposed that the Earth's in the center. Right. He just proposed that the ball Earth is not in the center.
So they say the first globe was made in the 1400s, right?
Right. So who was it? Is there a name attached?
Was it some Dutch or
Or did it
German
just
guy?
sort of sneak in?
But then he obviously got it from somewhere more recently than the ancient Greeks, who they generally attribute it to.
Right.
I see what
Because
you mean.
he got me questioning. He got me thinking about it. I'm like, hang on a second. Was it Copernicus? Didn't they already sort of like? Wasn't the idea that it was already wasn't it already getting thrown around? We're on a ball.
Yeah,
And Copernicus went, "Oh,
yeah, the
we're on a
ball
ball."
was around.
Right. So like Copernicus was like, "We're on a ball, but we're not in the center."
And it's an
Like,
underrated part of the subject to focus on, right? Because it's sort of like a philosophical colonialism that took place with this idea of a Renaissance and an Enlightenment, where the West developed this doctrine of a globe Earth, which is sold as a discovery and makes them scientifically more advanced or more astute than the rest of the world. Therefore, they inherit this position of superiority. And it's like, just a Western philosophy that's been used in a colonial manner. Maybe the spreading of the church philosophies from traveling Jesuit priests, trying to get into places like Japan and that. I mean, the church owned the education, essentially, for a time. So they had a big hand in it. But yeah, as it goes to singular people, it's kind of hard to pin down the exact thread.
Well, there isn't anybody. The only people before Copernicus were all in the BC era, except for probably Ptolemy, right? Ptolemy was just after the BC era. There isn't anybody you can pin down before Copernicus unless you go to the BC era.
right. But there's images, like there's paintings of like globes before Copernicus. I'm sure there is, like from the 1400s.
Yeah, but that didn't mean that they thought people lived on top of them.
Right.
Because the world was seen as spherical, but you were inside, potentially on a flat plane, inside of that thing.
Well, look into the first globe Earth, the first globe that was made, the physical globe. They say that's like the 1490s or something like that, don't they? Or earlier? 1400
I'm thinking,
something.
yeah, late 15th century, yeah.
Yeah, but that was when Copernicus lived, right? 14 to the 1500s.
Well, that's what I was
Right.
going to see. What's the exact time in comparison of that? Is that globe contemporary with Copernicus's life, or is it just before, or is it just after? Because I know they're in the same ballpark, but
Copernicus,
I don't have the exact off the top of my head.
I, from what I can remember, Copernicus was born right at the end of the 1400s and lived till the mid 1500s. So he lived
Right. So then, if
60
that's the
years.
case, and it's a late 1400s globe, then that would mean they were depicting the globe when Copernicus was a child, before he'd put his calendar to the church.
Right. So it just snuck in? Like,
Well, it will have been a group of elite intellectuals and maybe fragments of royals supporting elites and all this kind of thing that we're proposing. I mean, you read the writings of Leonardo da Vinci, and he's talking about a globe.
Right.
right,
And
yeah. I saw you guys
contemporary in
talking about
China.
it, yeah.
In China, there were two competing philosophies on whether Earth was flat or a globe for a while, too. This is going back like 1,000 years.
But there is a bit of a gray area, we're saying, between the ancient Greeks and like Renaissance Europe, like 2,000 years. Like, who was carrying the torch?
I point to one of these interesting books from the Dark Ages by Cosmas Indicopleustes, the Alexandrian bishop who used to be a trader and traveled all over the world, sailed everywhere. He wrote an encyclopedia called Christian Topography, and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. This was written in the late 400s, and it's not like there's only one copy in existence. There are multiple copies found all over. I think it's in Greek, So I mean, it makes a pretty strong case that it was written when they said it was written, given that. But he devoted a big part of this book when he surveyed the known extent of Christianity at the time. He devoted a big part of it to refuting what he called the globe Earth heresy that was creeping into modern church ideas back in the late 400s.
Yeah.
So the weird thing is, where's the evidence of that? Like, I want to find what sources he was leaning on or recalling in order to state that this globe heresy was starting to become more popularized within the church back then.
Yeah, and you've got people in the Reformation and Martin Luther and things like that making reference to at least heliocentrism, if not the globe directly, and that being a point of disagreement and conflicting with the scriptures.
Yeah, Martin Luther was a flat earther for sure. That's 1,000 years after Cosmos Indigo Bluestis. If there is 1,000 years between the two.
So it seems that there's a few individuals who made claims for it to be a sphere, but it just wasn't accepted. It was shut down. It's almost like they were trying to introduce this for a very long time, but they had to work their way into the church, right? And it wasn't until it was adopted by the church that it could actually, become a story people would accept. So I think that's why Copernicus gets the credit, because he's the one who introduced it to the church. Before that, you've got a bunch of people trying to push it, but it was just being rejected, logically inconsistent.
Yeah, and the way I remember hearing it was that Copernicus was very reluctant to come out with his calendar or the heliocentric calendar, and that the church had to convince him and help him get it published. I don't know how true that is.
Well, before Copernicus, wasn't it the people push like Ptolemy and whatnot pushing the geocentric model, and then Copernicus came along in the 1500s, didn't he? And he was the one that suggested that he said that it's spinning and all of that kind of thing.
Well, if I can point to one thing, I tried to find the origin of this too. There were 3 Babylonian astronomers. I forgot their names. You can probably use AI and get their names. But they're kind of responsible for teaching the Greeks astronomy. 2 of them were globe earthers and one of them was a flat earther, not even joking. And this is like 800 BC.
$800 BC.
Yeah.
So that's before ancient Greece. Babylonia,
Yeah,
you said, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I mean, if the story's true, right? It feels to me like all of the ancient Greeks they quote, we have no evidence for, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing could just be made up. These individuals could just be made up to add credibility to the claim, right?
Perplexity AI is telling me there isn't a single universally agreed upon name that can be attributed to the moment the spherical Earth became widely accepted in the modern Western world. It's just it's just explaining it as a gradual ideology, like that just that slowly gains traction, starting with the ancient Greeks, leading up to now.
Exactly. From what I've gathered looking into it, it was like it was like conceptualized based off the way that we view the sky. Basically, it came from the as above, so below. and they envisioned the heavens as a perfect sphere, and through philosophical grounds they figured that the Earth must also be perfect, right? And that the Earth is also a sphere. So they kind of inverted the celestial sphere into the terrestrial sphere. It's not like people went out one day and did some measurements and they're like, oh shit, we've been wrong for thousands of years, guys. We've gone out and measured the water and actually it's a globe. Like, here's our results. You can go check for yourself too. This is what we did. No one ever did that, and they didn't even claim to have done that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It makes sense that there's no individual it's attributed to because it's never been a discovery, where discoveries are attributed to singular people at times. But this isn't, because it's just a philosophy. But I think even then, what I was getting at was just, if you could trace a thread from the very beginning all the way to modern day, what groups of people would it pass through and be passed on by? Like, if you had that exact view.
Yep. Well, Perplexity says, in summary, there is no one specific name to attribute the global acceptance of Earth's sphericity to. It was a process led by figures like Magellan, Elcano, and Copernicus, but not a single discoverer, like you just said. And let's put it in quotation marks, discoverer, or, in quotation marks, declarer.
Yeah. This is what
Can
I
you
have
humor
written
me?
down. It kind of, how you look at all the ancient depictions of the Earth and it's like a flat plane inside a contained system, and the sky looks like all the stars and everything are on a dome or a container or a celestial sphere, whatever you want to call it. All the stars are in like a dome shape in the sky. So what I have written down is that the Greeks, Egyptians, Babylonians, and early Indian astronomers all described the sky as a dome or sphere revolving around a stationary Earth. And then later on, these philosophers came along, such as Pythagoras, Plato, Aristotle, and they took the symmetry of the celestial sphere and imposed it onto the Earth itself. They reasoned that the heavens appeared spherical and perfect. The Earth beneath must also be spherical, not because of empirical proof, but to maintain philosophical symmetry between the above and the below.
And that's where the
that's pretty
16:1
accurate.
ratio comes in.
And just the Pythagoreans worshipping geometry and seeing the universe as being created in perfect geometry. That totally makes sense. So that's, a very plausible beginning point. But then tracing
Can you
it
research for me these Babylonian astronomers, if you don't mind? I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm driving. I might be lag. Sorry, Cyclone.
No, you're all right.
Nah.
No, I'm just saying this is a good endeavor. Try and trace it from point to point. I think DJ's on it in terms of the origins of it.
Yeah, I got a whole write-up on here, and all the way up to today, how it kind of warped from the ancient culture's way of looking at the sky, and then later philosophers turning that conceptual way of, assuming the sky is like a perfect sphere, and then they sort of turned that into a coordinate system, and eventually inverted that onto the Earth, and then it spiraled from there. Literally after Copernicus came along.
Yeah. Well, no, this is a good thread, guys. So unless there's some new people that want to ask questions or get involved, I'd like to hear some more continuation on this. But anyway, I'm going to have to drop off. But I'll be listening on YouTube, so good to hear you guys. Stay
Yeah,
flat.
you too, man. Good to see you.
Thank you, Cyclone. The reason why I'm pulling the Babylonian thread is because they wrote every freaking thing down. And this is a thread that I didn't pull completely, and it'd be interesting to see if we can pull it any further from here.